Let's get right to it.
Fantastico. Right. So this morning, Premier Panton will be joining us here in the program to discuss the real reasons he say that the former deputy premier and minister of finance and border control had to be fired.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So confirmation that he was fired, and we'll delve into the reasons why. So
Fired and not resigned.
Mm-hmm.
that's correct.
Okay.
So quite interesting indeed. On yesterday's program, big
Was
shout
it
out.
one of those things where it's like, you can't fire me, I'm resigning?
No,
Okay.
it was I refuse to resign. So okay, I'll fire you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he gave him the option to resign and he refused to take it.
Hmm.
So a big shout out and thank you to Governor Martin Roper, who made his final media appearance yesterday morning
Oh,
on our program, bidding farewell to the people of the Cayman Islands. He does leave the island tomorrow.
Huh.
And yes, he was on the program answering questions right up until the 11th hour about all sorts of queries that people had on their minds. And a lot of people are just wishing him and his family a safe journey and best wishes onto their next endeavor.
hey, the governor didn't call us and say goodbye.
He didn't.
I thought he loved
Oh,
our show.
I did hear him though on your show.
Oh.
So.
Yeah.
Well, so long, Governor. Blake and Aaron did love you.
Oh my goodness.
We'll meet again.
The tourism department says that 202 people benefited from their global citizen concierge program. Remember, this program was launched during COVID and extended to October of 2022. And basically, it allowed people who, I guess, sort of operate as nomads, if they met certain requirements, to be able to come to the Cayman Islands with their family and reside here under the special sort of immigration status.
Mm-hmm. And so what, that's over? Or?
Yes, it ended.
Oh.
It has ended. I know some people are requesting it to be continued, but no decisions have been made in that regard as yet, as far as we understand.
All right, catch Sandy right now on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for the Wednesday headlines.
Absolutely. Have a fabulous day.
You too.
All right, our segment again brought to you by J. Michael. It's time to style up with the latest shoes from Cole Haan. Skechers.
Folks, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Yes, here we are, ready for another segment of the Cold Hard Truth. Let's go ahead and get it, folks.
Bigger, better, bolder. The Cold Hard Truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the Cold Hard Truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the Cold Hard Truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, good morning, folks. Happy Tuesday. What a beautiful day to be alive and doing well here in the Cayman Islands. What can I say, except we got a lot to talk about this morning. We do have the premier who's going to be joining us at about 8 o'clock or so. So we've got almost half an hour to discuss a few things. And we're going to get it all sorted out this morning, I hope. So, wow, former Minister Saunders is like the gift that keeps on giving, honey child. he's like a bad, somebody says, well, that sounds like a bad STD. Well, I don't know, but he's bad something, bad mojo, bad cold. Sometimes colds keep giving. Bad situation. Yes, he just keeps coming with all these things that he claims are the reason why he resigned. And now we know without any doubt, in case y'all doubted me, because I did say he was fired after I had some analysis of the situation. And, now the premier of the country is saying he was fired. So, oops, got fired from your job. You had one job to do, former minister, and you just couldn't stay focused. So we'll dive deep into that situation this morning. We do have a hard stop at 9:30 this morning. I think I need to tell Chuck that as well. Although I have, I've got, tell you what, let me see here now. Yep. So here's a very interesting thing. I do have some content from the economic outlook that I want to play. But, I've got court today. I think everybody's up to speed on that, answering to some charges yet again. I had someone call me last night, an attorney at law. He does criminal law. And he's like, is that your name that I see on the cause list? I'm like, yes, honey, chill. Where have you been? And he was like, what? I can't believe it. Using a few choice words, like expletives we definitely can't use here on the radio. And he's like, what is wrong with these people? He's English. And I said, gosh, I wish I knew. He said, this is the most ridiculous thing. He's never heard of such a thing in his, 35 plus years of practicing law. And I said, well, one thing you can rest assured of, if they're going to come up with the most creative charges in the world, as it relates to me, they will definitely find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And there's definitely a will. Shall we say that? So I was fielding phone calls all day yesterday. Someone called me to say that Dr. Frank was on his wannabe live stream, calling me all sorts of derogatory names, saying I'm a black ape and all kind of stuff. You know what I find so interesting about people like him and like George? These are supposed to be black men. And I say that, with a grain of salt, because like I said last week, they're not comfortable in their own skin, but they're supposed to be black men who you would think would be uplifting, women, even if they don't agree with them. But, the first thing they do, and I do find it particularly interesting, but the first thing they do when they don't agree with you is they actually go for your looks, which I think is so interesting. What do their perception of my looks? And of course, they always try to be as nasty and negative as they possibly can. And in fact, using some of the same derogatory terms that, because they're always playing the race card, some of the same derogatory terms that have been used traditionally against people of color. We've always been made fun of because of our thick lips. Now everybody wants these thick lips, honey child. I don't have to go pay for fillers. They're naturally there. We've got the Kardashians of the world paying for fillers to get lips like mine. But this is what these men who are so low thinking, what they do is they go after your looks. They call you names that traditionally, the KKK and racist people would refer to people of color. Like they talked about our big bonkers. They talked about, our big lips and our blackness and whatever. And to call somebody, a black ape and a black monkey. Yeah. This is a man who actually was a minister in this country saying those things about a woman in this community. I could go there, but I'm not, because I'm better than all of them. And y'all can take that any way you want. But I am elevating myself above Dr. Frank. I don't have that so-called PhD that he has, but I tell you what, I have a little bit more decency than he has. And my aunt raised me better than that. I will talk about the issues. And there are times when the issues cross over into your behavior and the things that you do. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about your looks and call you black and ugly and that you look like a monkey and that you have skin with potholes in it. I mean, these are all things that I could say if I was that type of person. But I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep my head high, honey child, and I'm going to giggle over here in my little corner about Dr. Frank, because the fact that he even feels it necessary to go there says more about him and his inability to even have a decent conversation than it does about me. And apparently on his show, he even went as far as calling, this is what somebody told me. I mean, I don't listen to his foolishness, but somebody said that he even went as far as calling John Felder, because he hears that I'm in court now. He's like, oh yeah, you're going to get her. You're going to get her. I'm like, wow. One of K-Man's biggest crooks, right? He's a geriatric crook who has hoodwinked so many people in this country, so many people in this community. That's who you call to try to say, oh yeah, you're going to beat Sandy Hill. I'm like, what? The comparison and everything is just really, really disturbing, to be frank. No pun intended. But, I don't expect any differently from Dr. Frank. He is an angry man. It's one of the reasons why he cannot get a job. And he doesn't get it because people don't like to deal with angry people. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Nobody wants to deal with an angry black man or angry black woman or angry white woman or angry white man. The race card, which they always want to play, isn't the point. The point is you walk around with a chip on your shoulder, being upset at the whole world because the world doesn't roll out stuff on a silver platter for you. You see, that ain't me, honey child. I'm like, okay, I got to make my own way and I got to earn what I get in life, and I'm going to do that. So, I create opportunities. What have you done for yourself? We just over here in our little corner wondering. So, but on the one hand, it's sad that, people like him and George always have to go really low ball. And part of me is tempted. Y'all know the Sandy already. Y'all know I'm from Georgetown, and in fact, come from the same level of ignorance with some of the Macfield clan that Dr. Frank comes from, right? So part of me is like, oh, I can hear Cindy. Where's Cindy this morning? Cindy, wake. Part of me can hear Cindy in my head. She's like the devil on this shoulder. Part of me can hear her saying, Sandy, done him. Done Dr. Frank, that fool, done him. And the other part over here, this is Aunt Lottie on the other shoulder now. She's like, honey child, I did not allow you to become an educated woman and get you in the path of education and raising yourself up out of the foolishness of the Cayman gutter for you to then, return to it and wallow in the dirt with the likes of Dr. Frank. And that would be so easy. Oh God, I was so tempted. I gotta tell you, I was like, oh God, I wouldn't do it here. Like I can do it like in a private chat where we just have a super cold hard moment. And I could just dust him from here into, the 22nd century, really. Right? Because there's so much material with Dr. Frank that I could use historically. And I said, you know what? Leave him alone, Sandy. This man is so unhappy with his own life. The best you can do for him is say a little prayer, honey child. Sprinkle some Jesus juice on this man, right? Because he needs it. I can't imagine being that unhappy. Even after your so-called accomplishments. Yes, you have a PhD, but so what? Nobody in Cayman even respects you. Everybody in Cayman thinks you're an educated fool. And people talk about you and your parrot. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much material there, Frank. Like, oh, let's not go there. Because I don't know who you think you're fooling, but by and large, you don't really fool the people of the Cayman Islands. They're well aware of who you are and what you are and the cloth that you're cut from. And the fact that despite this community being an amazing community that wants to give people a chance to redeem themselves and to prove themselves and to do better, there's some of us who have wasted that opportunity and who will never do any better and who will never, thank you so much to this caller. This person says, please go high when they go low. Yeah, some people are just not capable of going high. So all the education in the world has really done you zero good because you're not able to have a discussion. The position really is Dr. Frank supports Chris Saunders, you see, and this is what this is all about. Of course, I've called Chris Saunders out for what he is. And instead of Dr. Frank looking at this objectively and saying, wow, why would all these women and others complain about, his incredulous behavior? What would they have to gain from making such an accusation. These are civil servants, mind you, against one man. Why? It just doesn't even make any sense. Instead of him looking objectively at it, of course, he's taking the, I can get something from Chris Saunders road, so I'm going to ride with Chris and see how this pans out in the end. I don't like Wayne Panton, so let me ride with this man because he, what is that saying? The enemy of mine enemy is my friend. It's that as well. We have to be very, very clear that, Dr. Frank is upset with Wayne Panton because Wayne Panton didn't give him anything. Isn't it funny? So it's sad, but as the person says, they're going low and I'm just going to hold my head high. Call all the crooks in the world. For you to think that calling a man who is a liar, has cheated people in this community, has taken people's hard-earned money and not delivered on vehicles, all of this is now documented, who the Grand Court has found to be a man of questionable character, even in terms of the default judgment that he was trying to get, which was eventually thrown out, right? These are the facts. He's claiming that him and what's his name, John Felder, are going to go to Cuba together so that he can get one of these electric scooters or whatever his latest scam is. But Cuba's the wrong place to be scamming people, honey child, because you'll disappear in a heartbeat. So go ahead, Dr. Frank, go to Cuba with John Felder. I don't know who you think you're hurting. In fact, you're only making yourself look stupid and ridiculous. And if you both disappeared over there, well, oh well, good riddance. Somebody took out the trash. So yeah, we'll leave him there. We'll leave him in his little salty corner. He's like a spoiled child who just can't get over it how old is Dr. Frank? 60, 65-year-old man? And he's still going on like he's 12, calling people names. Oh, you're so ugly. You're so black. I'm like, okay. Where? You hurt my feelings. Hardly. Isn't it sad though? Like, do we ever get past the stage where people are not going to be trying to make fun of your looks to when they can't hold their argument holds no water now, because listen, I'm happy to debate anybody on the facts and of, the resignation lie. This is like a scandal, the resignation scandal. With Chris Saunders. But you notice these people never want to rely on the facts. They don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about historically what has happened. The evidence and all this kind of stuff. They just like, oh, you're ugly. And I'm like, what does that have to do with the merits of this argument and this discussion and why a minister in this country was removed from his position? And, we'll obviously be speaking to the premier here in a minute this morning, folks, but I can imagine that this was not an easy decision for Premier Panton to make. This makes everybody look bad. And from all accounts, he had given Chris Saunders more than ample opportunity to try to get his act together. And it's unfortunate that sometimes when you give people an opportunity, it's a wasted chance because they have no intentions of ever doing the right thing. And to me, that's a sad indictment. So this person says, good morning. Dr. Frank is one to call people black and ugly. What mirror does he look into? Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. Lord, please take the bus. Yes, sir. It's a question that I'm afraid I have no answers to. I just do not know. Zero clue. I don't know. It must be that magical mirror, the one that's like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And this mirror lies to you and tells you, oh, Dr. Frank, you're the fairest of them all. Surely you know this already. And then that ego is like, oh, I thank you. Now let me go talk about somebody else and their looks because my mirror has just lied to me and told me that I look good. I don't know, honey child. It's a hot mess. Good morning to Felicia, First Lady Jayanne, Miss Vernita's in the house. Romelia is here saying, honey child, have a blessed day. Yes. KK says he's like a sinus, referring to the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, when you have sinus issues, right? They just don't want to stop. Good morning to John Henry. How are you doing? So good to see you. Marshall's in the house. So KK is asking if he's on the back bench now. Yes. Well, when they have the next hearing, I should say, of the Legislative Assembly, he will have to walk. It's like the walk of shame. They should have that little bell ringing. Shame, shame. As he walks over, because the reasons that he's walking over are shameful. But yes, he will have to walk over to the back bench. So he's not in the opposition. They haven't invited him over yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because, the opposition has plans, honey child, and they're so desperate. They'll take anybody and they'll do anything to make their plans come to fruition. So who knows if they might invite him into their fold. And he'll probably go, to be honest, because it's got to be hard just sitting. Because I think, would he be the only one that's actually on the back bench? Because everybody else is a member of the opposition or the government, right? So I do believe that he might be sitting over there by himself. And as I say, one is a lonely number, honey chow. So yeah. So KK is asking if I'm in court for the dog situation. No. That was the first of many cases with me in the DPP. So this is in relation to a civil matter that they're trying to criminalize. I described it yesterday, KK, so go have a look, and we'll be talking about it more, believe me. So this is the first court appearance. I'll show up today, and hopefully they've got all their papers ready for us to proceed. Thank you, Wee says you're a beautiful woman. I said this last week. Beauty is obviously in the eye of the beholder, and what people think about my looks really isn't relevant. I wish people would actually go beyond the surface and talk about more substantial things, because to me, how somebody looks it's like whatever. One person's attracted to this set of physical features, and these things fade over time, and other people are attracted to other. To me, it's like whatever. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other, but I appreciate it. And Ms. Sharon has also said, God made us in his own way. You're beautiful, my sister. I appreciate that. Another person says that being ugly was a crime. Frank and George had been in jail together for a long time. Oh my gosh, that is such a funny comment, I must admit. KK says, potholes, you bet. Good morning, Stephen. He's saying good morning, beautiful people. Yes, honey Joe. We all beautiful. Wee says the pot telling the kettle it's black. No, sir. First lady says, not look for them. Where ya move that. Siobhan, good morning. Jesus, buenos dias. He says, good morning. Good morning, Fox. Have a blessing day. Is that right? Okay. Vernita says, yes, take Michelle Obama's quote, when they go low, we go high. Yes, honey, chill. It is challenging sometimes to go high. I will be the first to admit that, because they make it so easy. They're like the low-hanging fruit. It's really easy for me to say, what? Dude, are you looking in the same mirror? You're calling me ugly? Like, couple snaps, child, put you back in your seat. But we'll just pray about it. Miss Amelia, pray about it this morning, please. Please put prayers on me. Just put prayers on me. That's all I can tell you. Because really and truly. No, sir. Yes. So Makiva Bush. Oh, is Makiva Bush also a backbencher? You're right. Thank you. I forgot about him, honey Jill. How could I? He's actually in court today as well. So I told my lawyer, I'm like, listen, I got work to do today. So we ain't got no time to be fooling around. So I'll be over in Makiva's courthouse before I go over for my own matter. I said, take your time calling me, because I need to go see what's going on with Mac. The big Mac is in court today. So yes, honey child, I want to see him rolling in on his walker, which he didn't have up to the other day. He's pulling Harvey Weinstein and y'all coming with the walker. This woman in Jamaica did the same thing with the SSL fraud. I'm pretending all of a sudden that she's sit or put me in a wheelchair, roll me to court in a wheelchair. I'm like, y'all are so pretentious. Oh my God. It is special. I don't know who they think exactly that they're hoodwinking, but it is definitely super special that they think that we are fooled by their shenanigans. So yes, Mac is actually on the back bench. Now, that is so interesting because someone reminded me, I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but someone reminded me and they said, is it ironic? Because remember, what's his name? Chris Saunders was cussing out after being up in the UDP's behind for years. He was the one who was cussing, Mac and, we don't want Mac to be part of this and blah, blah, blah. And one big scandal with McKeeva Bush. And I said, yes, honey child, I do remember. And so now, life sometimes has a way of humbling us. So he has been humbled, my dear. He will be sitting right next to McKeeva. The two of them can have saltine crackers and biscuits and tea or something there on the back bench together. Ms. Vernita says jealousy is a bad disease. Chill. We won't even go there. I'm just so thankful. I am so thankful for an amazing life that has been full of trials and tribulations. And we can still give thanks and say, here we are. We're all right. First Lady says the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Oh, honey child, that people don't know nothing about that. They trying to do some whitewashing stuff over there, so. And still talking about people being prejudiced against them. I'm like, child, you're prejudiced against yourself. I think that's what he's upset about. He's upset about the comments I made about how people are not comfortable in their own skin, but who the cap fit, make them wear it. If that's not you, then you shouldn't feel any way about that comment. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like it's taken, the pig in the pen is squealing, squawk, squawk. I know that does not sound like a pig, right? That sounds like a parrot or something. What the hell was that? Good morning to Everton. How are you, lovely? Buenos dias to Miss Moya. Jesus having a good laugh. Everton says, what kind of man goes around calling women names? Ooh, honey. Don't. I guess he doesn't have no respect for his wife or his daughter if he has such. Yeah, he doesn't have any daughters, but he's had several wives and he's got sisters and a mother and all this kind of stuff. And yes, I think that, definitely there is no respect there. And it says a lot because it also allows me to understand why he defends Chris Saunders. Birds of a feather, honeybee, quacking together. Quack, quack. Little chickens. So speaking of chickens, I wanted to play this yesterday. I think this is so funny. We were waiting on the premiere to come on. He should be here momentarily. But did y'all see this video? This had me cracking up. And folks, in life, you have just got to find the humor in so many different things. And I really believe in laughing at yourself. I'm like, just laugh and laugh and laugh some more. But there's this bird. It's called a chicken, a rooster. Let me see now if I can find it. Hold on. Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. I'm trying to find it. But this is so funny. It's one of the funniest sort of videos that I've seen in a minute. So this rooster was lying on somebody's porch, dead asleep, couldn't be woken up. And this person decided to record said rooster. And boy, I tell you, this had me cracking up over the weekend. Hold on now. All right, look at this. This is just hilarious. Where is he? Oh, here he is. Here he is.
Hello. You sleeping? Wake up. Hello. Wake up. What are you doing sleeping out here again? wake up yet? I'll go back to sleep. I'll go back to sleep then.
A rooster. Dead to the world. I mean, I didn't know that they slept like that. You know, I've always wondered about a little bit about roosters. How do they sleep? You know, because they're always up crowing all hours of the morning, night, midday. Like they don't seem to ever sleep, as far as I'm concerned. But look at that, right? He was just dead to the world. The little dude, little rooster. And he's sitting there. The guy's like, wake up, wake up. And he holds up his head like, I had a rough night last night. That's when you went out and you had one too many drinks. Oh my goodness. So Wee Wee says a black man with a white heart. You know, I don't even want to say that because, you know, I have a lot of friends of all nationalities and color. And, you know, my Caucasian friends, white friends, whatever the hell you want to call them, good people. These are not people who go around disparaging people based on their looks and saying all this negative stuff. You know, it's just petty and ridiculous. And I think that people who walk into a situation, who lead with the position that people, you know, hate them just because of how they look, have more issues. You know, they need to sort themselves out. So it is what it is. Good luck to them. Everton talking about that mass shooting yesterday in Nashville. Oh God, it breaks my heart to say that 3 more children, 6 people in total, 3 adults and 3 children. The adults, I think, were all in their 60s, teachers and the principal at this Christian school, no less, all dead today because of, again, a 20-year-old with a high-powered rifle. Oh, it's just very, very sad. Over 100 school shootings already, and we're only in March. Oh, America. Vicky, good morning. Says, I posted a comment a few mornings ago about the foxes out at the hen house and all over the world. The secrets will go. Sandy, get ready. It's coming. He will seek revenge on Wayne. Oh, yes, honey child. Listen, Miss Sonia says, good riddance to bad rubbish. Thumbs up to my premiere. We're 100% behind you. Morning, Sandy. Morning to you. Actually, over 130 mass shootings since January the 1st. Somebody else is correcting. But listen to me. I called this last week. Y'all heard me. And I said, these are the things that he's coming with. The race card, he did that. Called the governor racist about this whole gambling bill. I said, next, he's coming with the Regen Project. Did that yesterday. So after the premiere was another program, his response is, oh, this $2 billion project is why I was fighting for the people. Oh, yeah, he wants to be our savior. You know, if you wanted to be our savior, dude, don't sexually harass people. Don't harass people. Don't yell and scream at civil servants, making them go crying off, you know, into the corner and that sort of thing. This is not someone who's about the business of the Cayman Islands or has the interests of the Caymanian people at heart either. Next, he's going to come, and I said this already, I'm calling it. He's going to come for the jugular as it relates specifically to Wayne. And that will be in relation to C3. And he's going to claim all sorts of scandal on Wayne, which just isn't true. He's going to claim that this man is corrupt, you know, because Chris is very predictable, in fact. And when he was leaving the government building, he was already saying, oh, Wayne Panton's corrupt, blah, blah, blah. But you're the one who claimed that you resigned, son. You told us, the people, that you resigned. Now we know without a doubt that that was a complete lie. If you can't even be honest about your departure and claiming that you don't want, you know, our international reputation to be impacted, you care nothing about the reputation of this country because you would have been behaving better if you did. And some of those women that he's been sexually harassing, they should take him. They should make it a police matter. But I know that from what I've heard, most of them don't necessarily want to do that. But in my opinion, they should. They should do just that. Mm-hmm. What a mess. But, you know, it is what it is. So Everlyn, says they don't sleep like that. He did that, fold its head under. So he wasn't sleeping? He would... Really? And he wouldn't move after all that? So Val says that he doesn't think that video is funny. Really? It's just, I'm just glad he wasn't dead. Well, I thought it was funny, but okay, I guess we can agree to disagree. I think it's funny that he was like, wake up, and he was not moving at all. All right, so Akasaka says, hey, Sandy, John from the Institute of Legal Training. Hey, you. Wow, I mentioned that to remind you of who I am. I'm looking forward to doing an interview with you someday. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Where are you, by the way? You in the UK or what's going on? Hey, John, I remember you. Alejandro's here. Jonathan here pushing his G3 program. He said it's 10 times better than C3. I think you're not comparing two things at all. Oh, Jonathan, you certainly do make our mornings interesting around here, honey chill. You got us laughing. Darlene says she thinks that the chicken was sick. Really? Oh, gosh, I hope not. What a mess. And yeah, okay. Well, what can I say? We got some exciting events coming up, folks. I do want to remind you, Taste of Cayman is coming up. So y'all get ready for this. We've got a couple events. So first of all, there's an Easter flash sale. So make sure that you go and get your tickets. That sale started yesterday and it runs until Sunday, April the 9th. Isn't that Easter Sunday? That's why they're calling it an Easter sale. So now through Easter Sunday, you can get your Taste of Cayman adult tickets for general admission and VIP tickets at a special price, discounted from $60 for general admission to $49, and VIP going from $225 to $200. The offers for online ticket sales only. Go to tasteofcayman.org. That's .org, or in person at the DMS Easter Fest, which is coming up on April the 2nd at the Field of Dreams from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. By the way, outside of that, there will be tickets available at a ton of locations around the island. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to get your tickets. But I would recommend you get your tickets early. The early bird gets the worm, my love. And then we've got the heavy cake competition. So if you want to participate in the heavy cake competition, you're invited to do so. Simply email taste@tower.com.ky and they'll give you all the details on how to enter the best heavy cake, Cayman's best heavy cake competition. Ooh, I'm so tempted, but I'm not a heavy cake person. You know what, though? I wonder if that one cake that I make, which is supposed to be like a custard top, it actually isn't. I wonder if I could enter that into the competition. Oh my gosh, I just had an idea. I mean, it's kind of light, but I think it's considered, is custard top considered a heavy cake? Because I think it would probably qualify. It's not cassava cake, but still, it might qualify. And I bet you that would win. Child, people love them some of that. They'd be like, oh, can I have another slice? Mm-hmm. And don't forget, you can also get corporate tickets to Taste of Cayman. And this is a great way to get your staff together and make it a bit of a corporate event. So if you're interested in bulk or corporate tickets, you can also contact taste@tower.com.ky or call them at 623-6700. So again, folks, mark your calendar, save the date. Taste of Cayman is coming up on May the 13th from 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. I will be there. It's Cayman's premier food and drink festival, so do not miss it. Okay, so John is in the BRAC, back from the UK. All right, very nice. How's the BRAC? Alejandro says, you see them mad at the bus station doing it sometimes. Call it cruelty if you want. Some of them chickens, thank them for making them take a nap. So you can make a chicken take a nap? You see how ignorant I am about chickens. I don't know anything about chickens except they taste good. The leg and thigh is my favorite part. Nice and juicy. Chicken breast, if you do it right, can also be juicy, but it's a little bit drier. So you got to really know how to fix up the chicken, how you can fix up the chicken breast. That's interesting. I didn't know that, Alejandro. I didn't know that you could make them fall asleep. You know, the oh God, the ferals. What are those little critters called? They're not a rat. Ferals? What the heck are they called again? Oh my goodness, I can't remember. But you can pick them up. Oh my goodness. What are they called now? And you can make them fall asleep as well. You know how you do it? You pick them up by the nape of their neck because that's how their mamas carry them, right? And all you do is you take your hand and you run it down their bodies, and just the process of doing that strokes them. And the next thing, what are they called? Feral? What the heck are those things called again? Help me out here. But ferret. Thank you, Andrew. I was like, what the heck? I knew it began with an F. I'm like, what? Yes, but a ferret, you can actually put them to sleep by simply massaging them. They're so cute. They come in all kind of different colors and stuff. I don't know how I discovered that, but somehow I knew that. Oh, they're the cutest little things. I knew that as a kid. And so I would go to the pet store and I would pick them up and I would just like massage them, and they start yawning and they put out their little arms. Oh, they're so cute. And then all of a sudden they just start to fall asleep. So there was something about massaging them. Does anybody have ferrets here? Do they sell them at the pet store? I don't know. What are they considered? Are they part of the rodent family? I don't even know, but they're the cutest little things. They're the cutest little faces and everything. So yes, you can certainly put them to sleep. So John is wondering if he can be a judge in the heavy cake competition. I do not know how they pick judges, to be honest. But yeah, maybe you could ask. Custard cake is like a flan, isn't it? No, custard top isn't a flan. The top is, but we see my version doesn't have the custard top. That's why I don't call it a custard top. So, but it is actually not heavy. It's actually quite light, but I think they might still consider it a heavy cake. It is, when you pick it up, it is heavy. Like, but I cut it in little pieces. But it tastes so good. Corrine says, that sounds good. You should enter. I came in second place a few years back with my cassava cake. My apologies. I think most people do a cassava cake. So yes, you can Sandy. It paralyzes them just like when you pick up a car and a cat and dog behind the neck. I don't think they're paralyzed, but they do seem to kind of yawn and get sleepy. You see their little eyes like, oh, I'm so tired. Everybody knows what a ferret is. Let me show you a little picture of these cutie patooties. This is what they look like. Here's one. Oh, look at that little face. So cute. Makes me want to run out and go get one if I was not a responsible pet owner. Look at them. They're so adorable. How do we ever get these things as pets? Like somebody just one day looked at it and thought, oh, I'd like to have a ferret as a pet. I believe in just letting those little things stay out in Mother Nature. Stay there with the rats and the agoutis and all the other stuff. Curtis is here for some sus. Oh, Curtis, I love you. You are so funny. Everton says, I think local chicken eat much better than commercial chicken or commercial grown. I don't know. To me, they all kind of taste the same, honey chill. Miss Juanita says, good morning, Sandy. You're beautiful, made by God's hands. I appreciate it. They're considered rodents. Oh, they're cute for rodents. Curtis says, the show is boring. I need another MP to mess up now. Curtis, we're just waiting on the premiere to come on, and you'll get all the sus. You'll get more sus than you can handle. Thank you, Cap and Jack Daniels says they're part of the Weasel family. And Anthony says they're not legal here. Oh, really? I didn't know. Soka says no, they're part of the otter family. They're not rodents. Oh. Everton says yes, I believe they are related to beavers. So they must be pretty good swimmers then, huh? All right. Darlene says, I think you're meaning cornmeal custard top. That's why Alejandro's confused. We call flans custard too. Oh no, that's different. Yeah, the custard top is a custard top. A flan is a flan. Totally different consistency, different tastes and everything. Totally different ingredients. So Alejandro says, wait, Sandy, you like ferrets and not feral cats? These ferrets hunt cobra snakes in India for fun. Don't make looks fool you, girl. I have to tell y'all something. I got a video. I'm going to get it ready for later. But I have a video this weekend of some cats. I was just minding my own business. Actually, a mom messaged and said that her son needed a charger. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have a charger I can give him for his iPhone. And so I was going to deliver the charger and I saw something. I saw an iguana about to get attacked by two cats. And they were like on the prowl. They were like down low, that stealth mode, right? And I said, oh God, I hate iguanas, first of all, especially the non-native ones. But I'm going to help out an iguana in the moment. I was like, I'm going to help you out, iguana. I'm going to do you a solid. And so I sat there for a minute and I watched them and I recorded them. So I'm going to show the recording to you guys later on. Man, these cats were like, they were very patient. They were in stealth mode. One went this way. The other one went this way. And the iguana was just like frozen. It was almost like a stare down. They were all looking at each other. Like, what's going to happen? Dun, dun, dun. I felt like I was in a Western movie. And I need one of those showdown at 6 p.m. kind of songs, you know? So they were there and they just weren't moving. And so I said, okay, iguana, I'm going to give you an out here. I'm going to let you run for it. Although technically I should be culling you. So yes, I tried to throw pebbles at the cats and they're like, woman, go away from us. They were really something else. Everton says, some time ago, you mentioned about property in the Brack. I think you're selling. What's the deal? Oh, honey child, let me show you the commercial. Why not? This is a good deal, actually. I'm kind of jealous because I wish I could buy all this property in the Brack for myself. But, you know, you need money for that. But here you go. Thank you, Everton.
Ocean Ridge Heights offers an amazing opportunity to own a piece of land in idyllic Cayman Brack, right on the bluff, starting from $80,000. Located in a quiet residential area with high elevation, these lots are ideal for a future home or investment property and are sure to go fast. Cayman Brack offers a laid-back lifestyle, amazing pristine diving, limestone caves, diverse flora, along with amazing wildlife. Inquire about the owner financing options so that you can secure your piece of paradise today. With only a few lots remaining, these are sure to go before you know it. Contact Crichton Properties today on 345-949-5250 or info@crichtonproperties.com.
Oh, there you go, Everton. Call Crichton Properties. Owner financing, 5% down, which is a very good deal. And yeah, you know, I wish I had the foresight when I first moved back to Cayman in 1996 to understand the benefits of owner financing to kind of get you going sometimes when you don't have a lot of funds. And man, I would have been buying up some of them acreages that I saw available in Savannah. You know, the Brack is going to be the next frontier. And so secure your piece while it's still affordable, while owner financing is still affordable. Give Crichton Properties a call. And these, by the way, are oversized lots. There's not no little 0.25 squeezing you in, you know, next to your neighbor. These are good sized lots. Some of them are closer to an acre. So I'm telling you, it's don't pass it up now, honey child. So people sending me information on the ferret family. Thank you so much. They are very, very interesting looking creatures. But yes, they are part of the weasel clan for sure. The mustelid family. Interesting. Okay. I feel like I need to learn a whole lot about ferrets now. I just think they're the cutest little things. And yes, I'm supposing in the wild, they come in all different shades and colors and stuff. But definitely in the wild, I could see where they would have to survive. So apparently the other things that are part of that family, that group of animals, includes, let me see here. We have martens. Oh, those are super cute. Otters, badgers, mink. The now extinct sea mink. Aw, he's extinct. And the wolverine. Oh, the wolverine looks mean. Ooh, honey child. They look like they would scrabble with you in a heartbeat. And then there's something called the grisson. Grisson. Never heard of them before, but they look super interesting. You learn something new every day, honey child. That's what I love about this show. Y'all are my co-hosts. and y'all know exactly what's going on. So incredibly knowledgeable and well informed. So John says it's so refreshing when someone is funny intellectually. You could crack up a good crowd with soul good humor. You ever thought about doing some stand-up comedy? You know what, John? No, I've not thought about doing stand-up comedy. However, I will tell you a little secret that the other day when what's his name was on the program, George, somebody sent me the following, which did kind of make me laugh. They said, let me just find it. They said, so I'm listening to your segment with George Ebanks, OMFG. Figure that out. You had me ROTFLAMAO. That one's rolling on the floor laughing. This must be your funniest ever. Girl, you need a Netflix special. You destroyed him. That was not the intent. He destroyed himself. I had no idea that you could be that funny. Chris Rock ain't got nothing on you. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the compliment. So no, I've never thought about stand-up comedy. I'm not that funny. But you know what? Like I said, life, you gotta find the humor in certain situations. And I must admit that I'm a little bit snarky. These young people call it being salty. So I can roll with the saltiest of them all when I need to. So Alejandra says, if you get one of them ferrets here, it will gets away. Chicken, dogs, birds, all are in trouble. Well, this is what happened with the chickens and the feral cats. They're not native to the Cayman Islands. So you introduce any non-native species, and I tell you what, they can wreak havoc. Lionfish, they can definitely wreak havoc on the native environment, which is quite unfortunate. Even the green iguanas, they're not native to the Cayman Islands, and they have done a number. I hope they keep culling them though, because man, they're starting to reemerge. I haven't seen too many, but then I feel like because of the COVID shutdown or whatever, there was actually one in her apple tree. Did Sandy just say that she has an apple tree? Honey child, we're still waiting on the premiere. He's coming. He's just having a little technical difficulty getting on. Yes. So, yes, during COVID, my husband's mental sanity project for COVID was to start his own garden. Now, y'all know that he's a country man, and he comes from the farming life in the country. So his people literally have goats, and what else do they do? They have a honey farm, so they did honey production in Jamaica. His dad was like part of the bee society in Jamaica, and they'd go, the first time I've ever been stung by a bee was actually in Kingston. I was like, a bee just stung me, and it was not nice. So yes, they do all sorts of goats, and I don't know what else. What else is on a farm? Pigs, whatever. And they will take them to slaughter, and So I think he just has a green thumb from growing up in the country and whatever. And so yes, he decided to do his whole COVID project. And his COVID project, he's gonna do it, and he's gonna do it to standard, honey chill. When people see his gardening bins, they're like, he did all that. He got them, put them together, painted them, started gardening. You guys see him put on his little boots and his hat, and he gets out in the garden, and he just is in a whole other world. He gets the music playing in the garden, honey chill. So he just absolutely loves it. It gave him a bit of sanity. And COVID was such a difficult time for so many of us for different reasons. Yes. His father passed away just as we went into lockdown. That was really, really difficult, of course, to lose a family member and not be able to go through the traditional 9 nights and funerals. And, it was just crazy to have a virtual funeral. It's like, what is that? It's just really, really bizarre. But anyway, so he started, and he has grown everything from lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, scallions, mint. Oh gosh, we've had so much stuff in the garden. What else is there? All sorts of stuff. Sorrel. Oh yeah, we always got sorrel for Christmas, fresh sorrel. And so he planted, plantain. That was my special tree from my husband. He was like, as much as you love a plantain, I better plant a plantain tree. We got the little fingerling, what do we call little bananas? And I said, yes, honey child, thank you so much for my plantain tree. And when she was bearing, amazing. They were so good. I could eat plantain every single day at every single meal. That's how much I love me a plantain. And so he planted an apple tree. Now, these are Jamaican apples, to be very, very clear. And so, yes, this week, he was like, I think Miss Stacy actually found the apple. And she's like, look, you guys have apples. And I was like, what is this? What kind of apple is this? So, of course, I had a little bite of that apple. And that's a different kind of apple. Not what I'm used to. But if y'all have had it before, you'll know exactly what it is. And so we got our little gardening situation going on. Absolutely beautiful. So we're waiting on the premier. He's getting himself sorted out to join the program to set the record straight once and for all on Chris Saunders. And then I hope after this, we can really start to move past it because honestly, a week of talking about Chris Saunders is more than enough. So here's what they look like. Those are the Jamaican apples. Delicious. Well, should I be honest? Of course I'm going to be honest. A little bit bitter. I tasted it. I was like, this isn't quite what I expected, but all right. And my daughter tasted it and she's like, not quite what I expected, but all right. She takes after me in the appetite department. So Ms. Dorothy says, one of my reasons to watch CMR, I learn something new every day. Thank you, Ms. Dorothy. It's amazing, really, how life can be like that, right? Absolutely wonderful. So somebody says that you can actually hypnotize chickens, and that's probably what was going on there. Apple bananas. That's right, Jim. You got it, honey chill. So Miss Susie's in the house. Miss Dorothy says that's the best apple. And Miss Susie says a little steamy, but yeah, they're good. All right, Perla, Alejandro, everybody's ready for the premiere? Premier Panton. Good morning. It's so good to see you today.
Good morning. Good morning. And I'm very happy to be able to join you again this morning.
Yes, absolutely. Looking good. Looking good. I must say you all of a sudden seem fresher. You know, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's just my mind, but you know.
Might be an optical illusion.
Yes, maybe you've had a huge weight taken off of your shoulders. All right, let's talk about it, Premier Panton. You're here for one reason and one reason only today. And this is really to clarify and to set the record straight about what has happened with your cabinet reshuffling. So I'm going to let you tell the story. Even Wayne is saying that is swag. Yes, the Premier's got some swag. But, you know, go ahead and tell us what happened. How did this happen?
Well, I mean, I did have a long discussion with Radio Cayman yesterday on it. The things, there were a number of gaps in what transpired as a result of sort of misinformation that had been put out. As you know, we had a statement issued that afternoon. And I think that clearly set out what the position was with the cabinet and the changes. But I think there was messages being sent which sort of said that the former deputy premier had resigned as a result of material differences between the two of us. And I think the first thing to clarify was, yes, I did offer him the opportunity to resign because of a number of matters that I had outlined to him. Those matters, I think, were very serious issues of concern to me and to the government. He didn't accept the offer of resigning, so I had to take the actions that were open to me constitutionally to ask His Excellency the Governor to revoke his appointment as Deputy Premier, as well as Minister for Finance and Economic Development and Minister for Border Control and labor.
Mm-hmm.
So with that clarity, then the next issue really was, whether this was because of material differences.
Can I just pause you just
Sure.
to clarify something, right? So when he sent out his first message last week, Wednesday, claiming that he had resigned, he did so at about 11, I think it's about 11:45 in the morning.
Mhm.
I'm assuming, he kind of made mention of the fact that he, had a brief meeting with you. It almost sounded like it was very impromptu, like the two of you met and you kind of had some kind of a disagreement and you were like, or he was like, oh, I'm just going to resign. This was obviously something you had planned and had given thought to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, obviously.
Yes.
You don't do these types of things on the spur of the moment, or rarely does it occur on the spur of the moment.
Mm-hmm. Right. So he sends out this message saying that I've resigned. He also went on to say that there were differences, between, the two of you. And that essentially, his main concern was not to destabilize. He talked about the political stability and the international reputation of the Cayman Islands are more important than those differences. And I obviously, as we look back and reflect on that, I think that's very, very interesting for him to have said that. And then since then, has essentially done the opposite. But his preempting, so that came through at 11:47 a.m. He preempted your ability to send out a statement. How did that happen? Because if you knew on the one hand that, you were going to ask him to resign, your position, I'm assuming, was hoping that he would have accepted that opportunity and you would have just issued a statement saying that he was going to resign. So you had that statement ready to go?
Yes, but I have an obligation to go and have a discussion with my colleagues before I send the statement out,
Right.
To explain what transpired. And it was during that period of time that, of course, in today's media world with access through social media at any moment, there is no way I couldn't have preempted him sending out a message.
WhatsApp, yeah.
Unless I had done it, the second made an announcement, the second, this thing transpired. So that would not have been fair to my colleagues, because I think they deserved an explanation of what had transpired and why. So I had to take the time to make sure that was clear to them.
Okay. And so in that time, obviously, he sent out a WhatsApp message. And again, for the benefit of our listeners, I know they saw it last week, but essentially saying that he was, he said, I had a brief meeting with Premier Panton. It's clear from that meeting that the Premier and I have differences that are material to us working together. And as such, I have resigned as a Minister of Cabinet and a member of PAC effective immediately. You say that, in fact, that was not a resignation. You offered him, and this is customary for people to be offered the opportunity to resign, to kind of save face, right? And so you offered him that, and he rejected it. And instead, why reject it? I mean, I suppose you can't get into his head, but why reject it and then say that you resign? I mean, that to me is just dishonest.
I don't know. I mean, I can't.
Yeah,
as you said, I can't get into his head. And people are upset. It's not a pleasant situation at all. And I certainly didn't enjoy it. It was a difficult thing to have to do, no matter whether you're in the private sector or whether you're in the public sector, and particularly given the relationship that we had, it was not a pleasant thing. So, and emotions are going to be high, and he was obviously going to be very upset about the conversation. So I am not surprised that he didn't want to take the opportunity. Perhaps he didn't. I offered him the time to think about it while we were talking, but he went off and he sort of said that he was going to make some allegations against me or something to that effect, and that was really it. So I don't, to be honest, Sandra, this thing is the Cayman Islands, and these issues are bigger than me, bigger than him, and we have an obligation to this country to make sure that we have a strong government that is working to continue to serve the interests of the people of this country and to do the things that they want us to get done. I think politicians sometimes think that the people care about one thing when in reality they care about what you're delivering, and they want to see answers and they want to see you trying. So this is what I want this government, my government, and my colleagues to be focused on. That's what we've committed to, and we're looking to move forward. You know, as I said, this was a difficult situation. I've outlined that it related to issues of significant issues of conduct. You know, and I know that recently our former colleague has issued statements to the, you know, making reference to regen and the waste to energy project, which was begun under the last administration. But this is more really a case of, you know, don't look here, look there. It's a sort of a distraction and a sleight of hand. But that's not to say that we don't have challenges with the project that we inherited.
Right.
And that is clearly the case. We have been working assiduously to complete that project. When the project agreement was signed I think it was March 25th, 2021, some 3 weeks before the last election, that was an agreement to make about 30 other agreements. So it was a framework which for which the majority of the work, probably 95% of the work, was still to be done. And that is what we have been working on. We've been working through all the challenges of supply chain disruptions, all the challenges of you know, the significant escalation in inflation, the challenges around negotiating with multiple parties to try to get common ground and get an agreement on this, and also facing the reality that you know, that some of the options have been taken away by decisions made previously in relation to the landfill. So we only have one small part of the landfill remaining that is in use. The rest of it was in full remediation. Now, obviously, remediation is where you want to get to when you're transitioning to a new approach, a more sustainable approach to dealing with the refuse and garbage issues. But you really need to be in a position that you negotiate this and finalize that approach and are clear on exactly what your options are there going forward before you limit your other options. But that aside, you know, there are difficulties with this project that were identified. I mean, one of the things was that the Department of Environmental Health, as it is currently located, sits in the middle of the footprint for the regen project, but no one seemed to have a solution and seemed to have realized that within 12 months of financial close, of signing all the documentation, the consortium was in a position to issue a notice to the Department of Environmental Health to say you must vacate the location that you're in. You know, so there were a number of issues. There have been a number of issues with this which have delayed it. And is it costly? Yes, it's costly. But I'm just going to say one thing in relation to what has been said recently. You know, the comments around, well, probably two things. The comments around the cost being $2 billion versus going back to look at what was originally bid. That is a combination of a distraction and misdirection and misrepresentation, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bid pricing on that project, originally the winning bid, would have been the construction cost of actually building the waste energy facility. Any cost that looks like anywhere near $1 billion or more is really going to be a representation of the cost of the project over the entire lifetime, which is 25 plus years. So the suggestion of, well, it's really, that it's going to cost the country $2 billion, but go back and look at the bid price and it was significantly less. That is mixing apples and oranges. That's not a direct comparison in terms of amounts or costs. The project is likely to cost in excess of $1.5 billion over that 25 years. But that is not unexpected. That's over that 25-year period. The construction
To be clear, I just want to clarify this. When you called in your former deputy premier to talk about his resignation, in that conversation, did this regen project play a part?
No, not really. No, not in this context at all.
So what did you say to him about why you want? Or I know you can't give us verbatim, but what was the gist of the conversation about why he needed to resign?
I outlined several matters that were of considerable concern to me, and obviously, they all basically involved elements of conduct, and that's why I have said in general that it relates to issues of conduct. So I don't really want to go into all the details, and I think I've outlined very clearly that what I'm concerned about, and what I think my colleagues are concerned about, and what we should be concerned about as a country, is to have a country in which people can feel free, feel open to doing whatever they want to do to achieve their life's ambitions, to work in a safe environment, and not have to worry about bullying or any kind of harassment. And I really don't want to go into more details than that, but these were some of the very serious issues. There were other issues that I think you have outlined some of them previously, but I really don't want to go into those.
And his I think it's interesting that first he talks about racism. He releases emails, obviously they could only come from him, about the governor being racist. Can you speak on that? Because I think this is a fundamental area of concern, because there's some people in the community who might take up Mr. Saunders's position on this and who might believe him. That the governor is racist, or I guess other people in the PAC administration are racist as well. What do you say to that allegation about what do they call it, pigmentocracy and racism?
There is a reality that over centuries probably we've had issues around people being treated unfairly. For a variety of reasons, some because of their skin color, some because of where they were born, some because of their economic class. And in Cayman in particular, we all have mixed race, every single one of us. I am not going to deny my cousins. I am not going to deny and have any issue with anybody else's family. I love all Caymanians. For me, I have a Caymanian soul. I see Caymanians. That is it. And this suggestion of race being an issue is a distraction. It's an attempt to put something on this which it is not. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that there was absolutely nothing to do with racism or any tension or any allegations or any suggestion between either him and anybody else, or him or the former deputy premier and the governor. Nothing to do with that whatsoever. And I specifically told him that it had absolutely nothing to do with that.
And
because I thought it was quite possible that he would try to utilize that as a rationale. But I very specifically told him, look, this had nothing to do with it.
Yes. And he made a statement or something in the emails that were circulated late last week that there was some meeting where there was a discussion about the gambling bill that other ministers got up and left. Is that true? Something about they got up and left in protest because they were in agreement with his comments.
I mean, there were I think what he was referring to was a meeting at which there was a break for lunch. The meeting adjourned. The meeting was finished. There was a break for lunch. Some members had previously indicated that they had to go and do some. They were committed to doing some other things, so they had to leave. There were, I think, a couple of members that didn't indicate why they were leaving, or why they didn't stay on for lunch. But everybody else either stayed for lunch, or I think there was perhaps one other person two people who indicated that they had other matters. One had previously indicated it, and then one indicated at the end during the adjournment that they had to go and attend to some other matters. So there was
no walkout of ministers.
No, I mean, I can't tell you what's in the minds of some people, but I can tell you that it objectively looking at it, there was nothing like that.
So, Mr. Amelia, I see you were thinking of the same question as I was. And I think it's important to say that just because someone puts something in an email and makes accusations in an email, that doesn't actually mean that it happened or that it's true. So, I mean, the premier, none of us would have been there. The premier would have been at whatever this meeting is that he was talking about. And he's saying that, no, there was no walkout. Like, he doesn't really know, even it sounds like what that's referring to, except that people had other commitments. They were on a lunch break. And, it is what it is. Cameron says maybe.
Yeah. So
after lunch,
let's be clear, right? We take oaths that we do not disclose what occurs in cabinet.
Right.
And the reason you do that is cabinet needs to be a place in which you have free and fair and open discussion without worrying about whether somebody's going to go off and talk about what your contribution has been and what your perspective is and what you've said. So that's not unique to Cayman. It's all over the world. That's an accepted approach to governance, particularly for a high level body like the cabinet of the Cayman Islands.
Right.
So I am not going to get into discussions about who said what and stuff, but I can say that I didn't. I was not aware of at any point. When I say at any point, I mean at any time, cabinet or otherwise, I was not aware of any perception on my part that it was anything resembling racism. I think there are times when people express themselves in a strident way to say this is really important, and governance is an issue that we have to be concerned about. I think somebody might take it in a different way. I don't know, but I'm not going to say anything more about that. It's just that I never took anything in that way. And as I said, I'm Caymanian, and I'm not. It doesn't matter who it is to me. If I saw anything resembling racism, I'm going to call it out.
Mhm.
I'm going to address it in one way or another.
So let me just clarify, because I think you said something that's really, really important, because Ramelia says, oh, she's got other sources, but your position is all ministers in cabinet, when you have these cabinet and I guess caucus meetings, the idea is that people should be in a position to disagree, to agree, to speak freely, to have a go back and forth on the issues without that becoming something that's then in the public domain for further discussion. And what has really happened here is obviously the former deputy premier has released emails which indicate what some of those discussions were, and that sounds like it flies in direct
No, but
contradiction.
what has transpired there was not a description of what transpired. It was more his particular view of what he thought was being said, and his reaction to that. But that wasn't even relevant to that specific time period. Anyway, like I said, I'm not going to get into this any further. It's not right to be talking about these types of things. All I can do is tell you categorically that no decision and no action was taken in relation to that at all.
Okay. All right. So I guess some points of clarification here. We now know that the premier had not resigned. Former deputy premier had not resigned as he indicated, but essentially he was fired. And in addition to that, the reasons thus far that he has stated, and I think there might be more to come, for his departure were not connected to your decision. Is that a fair summary?
That's correct, yes.
All right. So, I mean, I think the people of this country want to know sort of what next. I mean, obviously, as a result of this, you had to reshuffle your cabinet. So you've now reassigned some of his responsibilities. Can we talk a little bit about how the reassignment was done? And you've selected a new deputy premier, which is Deputy Premier the Honorable Julianne O'Connor Connolly.
Yes. So I obviously would have asked if she was willing to take that position, and she indicated she would consider it, and then indicated subsequently that she would. And then I asked on the day in which these events occurred. I asked at the time Parliamentary Secretary Mr. Seymour, Honorable Seymour, John Seymour, whether he would take on the role as Minister for Water Control and Labour. And he agreed at that time that he would. So we subsequently had meetings with the senior staff, with the senior management team of the civil service, and communicated that, and had a discussion with them, and I think that went extremely well. So as of that point, we're moving forward with these positions, with our agenda, and we are going to be delivering for the people of this country, addressing the issues that they really care about, that affect their lives.
So we have Ms. Amelia asking in relation to what you said about cabinet. She says, Premier, why is that these meetings are private and not allowed to be discussed with the public? Can you explain that?
Well, I thought I had just outlined that.
I mean, I thought you did too, but maybe she missed it.
These things cannot be, these are not public meetings. These are meetings in which the cabinet has to have the opportunity to consider very sensitive matters at times. There has to be the opportunity for free and fair and open discussion. And those circumstances will not exist or will be restricted or limited if this could be, these matters could be the subject of public discussion. That is why you take an oath that you will keep the matters that you're discussing in cabinet, and the details of those, you will keep them private. Not
But having
disclose them.
said that, for the first time ever in the history of the Cayman Islands, your government has released cabinet, is it called cabinet notes?
Cabinet summary.
Cabinet
So
summary.
yes. So we have we have been publishing for more than a year now, for the first time ever, a summary of cabinet decisions. Now, that's quite different from publishing details around who said what and what was discussed in detail. It's quite different from that. So that is our commitment to transparency, to making sure that people are aware what the decisions of cabinet have been. Now, in the past, you would only have known the decisions of cabinet either if the government had a press conference to tell you, or if you looked at the Gazette to see what was being gazetted as notices, or as forms being adopted or whatever, or by the announcement of a particular initiative or a particular action, or by publication of bills in the Gazette. So we have added a whole new level of transparency to the process of identifying within a week of what has, of decisions being made, what the summary of those decisions are, and the types of matters that are being covered and dealt with by cabinet. That to me is a clear reflection of a culture of transparency, a culture of respect for the country. We recognize that we're public servants. We're there to serve the people of this country, and they deserve to know in general the types of issues that we're dealing with. What needs to be kept out of the discussion, the public domain and discussion, is exactly what views were expressed by what individuals and to what extent.
All right. We've got a call in the line. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy, and good morning, Honorable Panton.
Good morning.
I've got well, good morning, yes, sir. I would read one point, but like rolled up into two. First of all, let me just acknowledge that the transparency that you've introduced, I'm hearing about that for the first time, like relating to the summary of that. I think that's very, very good, and may I congratulate you on that. Then secondly, you see, in discussing any issue like this, there are always problems of information. What information do we have? Is it complete or is it not complete? Once in a while, I give a comment based on CMR because I trust CMR, but this time I have to give a comment which is based on the campus because I trust the campus as well. So with that little caveat, let me just say with respect where I think the governor erred. He erred in two things. One, I think from the report, he imputed motives. He imputed improper motives or possible improper motives.
Hang on a second.
As you know,
let me just say that there is there's a difference between imputing motives and saying and suggesting that there are people making representations to you.
I think, with respect, Premier, I think that is splitting hairs. Like, to say, well, he didn't say that you are doing this.
Mr. Samamba, how is that splitting hairs?
Yeah.
If you are saying,
okay,
the people, certain people in the country are expressing these concerns to me, and I want you to know what concerns they're expressing. How is that splitting hairs as opposed to you saying, or anybody in a particular position saying, this is what I want you to understand, my perspective is. That's a completely different.
Yes. Yeah, that's a little bit like walking into a shop and saying, sir, people are saying that you are a thief. I don't know if you are, but I just heard that. Let me answer it this way, sir.
Games with that.
Okay, let me answer it in this way. As a diplomat, as a governor, there are certain things which you don't pass on precisely because the perception might be created by the other people that you are making an allegation. And you see, to me, if you think that maybe there's a difference, but certainly it was indiscreet for him to say that, and the people are likely to think that this is just a veiled way of making the allegation. And if he had done that, for example, in Parliament, you know this better than most. If he had done this in Parliament, there would have been a point of order, and the chances are that the speaker would have said, no, you are suggesting that there may be improper conduct, and that's not correct. So to me, I think whatever view you might have on it, it did increase to me the amount of heat that was generated by that. But the second point also,
but can I pause you,
think that
Mr. Balika, can I pause you there for a second? Because I want a point of clarification. So your example about the person walking into the store and being a thief, right? Just because somebody walks into your store, you can't make an assumption that they are a thief based on how they look. And there are people who are saying that, listen, this governor has never done or said anything for anyone to think that he's racist. And really the issue is with Mr. Saunders and a chip on his shoulders, generally speaking, about racism. So he's throwing out allegations out there that are not founded in reality or any evidence-based sort of situation. So again, I might walk into a store looking like a ragamuffin, and you can't say, oh, because Sandy looks a certain way, because she might look poor or whatever, that she's about to steal or she's a thief. I mean, you can't make those types of allegations against me until I take certain action, right?
I gave maybe an example where I misled you. Basically, what I meant is that you can't go up. You can't go up to somebody and say, well, oh, you know, Premier Panton, people are talking in the society that you are taking bribes. And then I say, well, but you see, there's no proof, but this is what they are saying. To me, the mere fact that I've verbalized it, I'm being indiscreet. But very quickly, also, hold
on one second. To be fair, what the governor said yesterday is that he was relaying information that was coming from, and he wasn't making any specific accusations, but he was relaying information that was coming from the law enforcement agencies here in the Cayman Islands. And one of those is a concern that people who are involved in the world of illegal gambling are also funding politicians. You can't say that that's not the case. I can't say that that's not the case. If, it'd be interesting what evidence they have to support that position. But even just from a logical perspective, you and I may know who all the big name gamblers are here in Cayman, some of them average Caymanians. There is also intelligence information that we have now imported, criminals from overseas who are part of more organized crime entities. But how do you know that that person isn't giving any politician a political donation? You don't know that because there's no accountability in the world of financing for one's, election. You don't know where the money comes. There's no reporting requirement or anything of the sort. So again, you can't say that even the governor relaying a message from his security intelligence sources, whether or not that has any real merit, from my personal opinion, is more likely true than not. I mean, when I just think about how campaign financing and funding happens in the Cayman Islands and the lack of complete transparency around that entire area. Somebody slip me a little $2,000 in my pocket and say, yeah, this is for your campaign. And they're a numbers person. You don't think that happens in Cayman? Come on now.
Okay. I am not saying that the truth or otherwise of the allegation is an issue. You are absolutely right when you say, well, look, you and I don't know it. But when you deal with issues relating to government, sensitive issues, it's very indiscreet for you to do that because it's going to be misunderstood very often as an indirect way of just making the allegation without appearing as if you've made it. It doesn't help personal relations. But the other thing I was going to make was the interpretation of his interpretation of what his special responsibilities are. He has said, well, look, this matter has to do with law and order because people are being killed and in relation to gambling and so on and so forth. To me, I think if law and order is interpreted to mean that he can interfere in anything that has to do with criminality, then it means that he is defeating the purpose of Section 81. Section 81 was intended to narrow down to 4 specific areas the things where he might overrule the Legislative Assembly. The problem is that if you interpret law and order, Section 81, the way he did, then why didn't he interfere when Mike Adam in West Bay was being molested by a loony? Why hasn't he interfered with beach access? No. The law and order is understood under that section is very, very, very wide. Is very narrow, and I think he was wrong to try and say now he can interfere in that because if he can interfere in that, then he can interfere in any bill, which is not the intention of that. But in closing, in my view, by him pushing and that's the word he used yesterday on your show, by him pushing the Legislative Assembly to say, no, why are you sending this to the select committee? Why is it being delayed? To me, he has shown that he does not respect the Cayman's representative democracy. He has no respect for its elected representatives, and he has no respect for the people who elect those representatives. He should have allowed the process to play out. I thank you for that. Thank you for the engagement.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
So Mr. Shalat has a question that I guess is connected to this. He says, did the governor suggest that he would use Section 81 at any point in relation to the gambling situation?
There was a point in time in which he expressed to me that this was an issue of concern because the law enforcement units were advising him that it was contributing to very significant issues around public safety. We have had one death in a location on Eastern Avenue, which was of a retired prison officer. It is all public information. We've also had another death, which seems to be more recent, I think perhaps more recently than that, which seems to be connected. And in the past, we have had another death, which I think was at the time connected to the illegal gambling operations. When do we wait to see when other innocent people become victims or collateral damage as a result of this, or collateral victims? I think that is what was being communicated to me. There was a previous attempt in 2018 to deal with the Gambling Act as it is now, which has remained virtually unchanged since 1964. And the police and other law enforcement agencies have been very concerned that it is not acting in a way which facilitates control and or deterrence. And they're very concerned about that. And what the governor has expressed to me is that the feelings around this, because of the failure to deal with it in the past in 2018, that the UK felt that this may be something that they would consider utilizing Section 81.4 to ensure that there is a proper piece of legislation which adds to the deterrence and control of these types of activities in order to protect, in order to provide security, national security, and security for the public.
All right. Well, Ms. Bonnie says, what a hot mess.
That's always an option. It's clearly front and center in the discussions around governance. It has national security implications. If money is being obtained through means that are illegal and that are then being laundered in some way or another, we have a lot of different implications around that, which impacts our international reputation potentially as well. So these are all things that we must bear in mind. And one of the things we must do more than anything else is put the Cayman Islands and its reputation and its recognition as a center of excellence, as a jurisdiction that's committed to the rule of law. These are all central to our existence, to our reputation as being a very top-notch financial services industry. These are the things that we have to bear in mind at all times. Whenever people want to have squabbles about issues, and you know they're concerned about their own particular little perspectives, we have to keep the big picture in mind at all times and the interests of the Cayman Islands. All of us should be acting in the interests of the Cayman Islands as a whole at all times.
All right, Miss Bonnie says, what a hot mess. Everybody wants to run the country. People need to calm down. Saunders is power hungry. We ain't let no one lecture to you. Jonathan says, legalizing a local lottery is as easy as can be, and that you're using too many big words and complicating the gambling law. It's interesting that you mentioned our international reputation, because I think the point is lost on a lot of people sometimes when they're listening to the program, that our international reputation. And when we hear some of these international sort of oversight bodies, whether it's in relation to, FATF or whatever, we're being blacklisted, gray listed, and so on, they make mention of things like, oh, you've actually never really had a successful prosecution for money laundering. And they throw these things out there to demonstrate in their eyes why we continue to earn the gray list and the blacklist that they will put us on. So,
well, I mean, I'm not going to agree that we've earned any of that. To be perfectly honest, I think for too long we've had a situation where the goalposts have constantly been shifted.
Oh yes, for sure.
That's not to say that we don't recognize and have not recognized that there are things that we needed to do, and that we were committed to doing and did it. But to be frank, when you look at the Cayman Islands and you compare it to other jurisdictions where you can go in and open a bank account in 15 minutes, and you try to do that in Cayman, even for any one of us, including myself, it takes weeks to get it done. You can understand why there is a situation of this is more about might than right. We do not, and as the Minister for Financial Services in the past, I spent a lot of time internationally and locally advocating for the interests of this country and saying, one of the things we do not ever want to do is to allow anybody to abuse, or any bad actors to abuse our jurisdiction. We don't want dirty money. We don't want corruption proceeds. We don't want proceeds of crime. There is far too much wonderful, great, legitimate business, investment business that is going on around the world, and that we can provide fantastic solutions to help integrate that into different economies, to help those even onshore economies. There's far too much of that. We don't need to resort to the bottom of the bucket, so to speak, in terms of economic activity. That is not our space. That is not where we wish to be. We are a legitimate, significant financial services center that plays an important role internationally in the global financial architecture, the global investment architecture.
All right. Perla says, in all due respect to Mr. Chris Saunders, what color are you really? Being a racist is not a normal Cayman kind of word to be used. This behavior is not tolerated because we Cayman Islands are one nation, not a separated country. Please get some help on your mentality and eyes. I think you're not recognizing color properly. And then the other one, you cursing people. This is definitely not professional. Charles says exactly, Balika, in agreement with his comments. Miss Edith is saying, can we call an early election? She also made a comment earlier saying that Good thing elections coming soon. Well, if they're coming soon, why are we calling an early election? Those two probably don't really go together, but I'm just saying. And we can try again. Nothing has been done about Georgetown housing crises. Very disappointed with this government. We're expecting much better from them. Looks what we have to be dealing with. Looks like a children's argument. There are more important issues that need to be addressed.
Well, let me just say in relation to that, that is clearly the case, and this is what I have been saying. It is these kinds of issues don't deserve a lot of attention. We need to be able to move on and deliver the things that people care about. Housing is an issue. We will be coming out very shortly with a whole suite of initiatives, actions, recommendations as to how to assist in resolving some of these things. We then have the supply side, where the National Housing Development Trust is well underway with a number of projects to start delivering affordable housing to people, to our people. We are working through a number of issues to initiate on the traffic side, including starting to restrict the import of certain types of cars, including working on short-term initiatives, which will translate into longer-term initiatives around public transport. So we need to be incentivizing people to carpool, because, if every one of us is driving a car on the road and we can get at least one person sharing a ride with another person, that means there's at least one car off the road for every one of those scenarios that happens to. And honestly, if we can take 500 cars off the road, 1,000 cars off the road at any particular point in time, that's a huge difference. We have between 6 a.m. and about 10 a.m. every morning, we have about 8,000 cars, more or less, that transit the area by the Hurley's roundabout, the Grand Harbor roundabout area there. If we can take 500 cars out, if we can take 1,000 cars out, that will start making a big difference. So incentivizing carpooling, and then also setting up park and ride scenarios where we can get people to take buses into town, where they park their cars in a more convenient location, nearer to their homes. And then we have the same buses running them back out in the evenings on a regular schedule. This is going to help. This is within our control. I want people in the country to understand that this is within our control, and we have to work together. We all have to make conscious decisions to try to help make this better. We need to find creative solutions and be a bit flexible. I've had conversations with people around why you all live 500 yards apart and you're going to the same office. Why don't you just carpool? And a lot of the times as well, I'm going to leave at 4 o'clock. I'm going to go in at 7. I'm going to leave at 4, and the other person tends to work late, so that's not going to work. Well, it may be that you go in with the person that in the morning, one person in the morning, and you come back with another person in the evenings that is leaving at a time which more correlates with what time you want to get home. So there are lots of opportunities. We just have to be creative about it. And ultimately, we want to have a wonderful public transport system that, in my mind, electric buses, well air conditioned, they have Wi-Fi, they're very comfortable. People can work, people can review things, they can be on data and surf and read news, all in a relaxing and safe environment as they're traveling to work. This is where we have to get to, but we have to make very conscious decisions, take very deliberate actions in order to get to that point.
All right, we got a couple
Sandra,
callers.
we have had, before we
Sorry.
go on, I just want to say
Mhm.
this is not, the problems we're having today are problems which represent failures to really try to address these problems in the past. We've kicked the can down, the proverbial can down the road on so many different things. And now we are facing the challenge of addressing multiple different issues at the same time. But we're not shying away from it. We're putting our arms around it, and we're moving forward with initiatives to demonstrate to this country that we're trying to address these, and we're going to be measured in how we do it, and we're going to assess how effective it is and try to find to be creative and find ways to be as successful as possible.
All right, we've got several callers on the line. First one up, ending in 75. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Sandy.
Morning.
Good morning to the Honorable Premier.
Good morning.
What you want me to bring to just had a quick question. I mean, I just listened to your statement, Honorable Premier, where you were talking about individuals having to, carpool and so forth. I personally, this is just my personal view. I can't speak for everybody else, but as a Caymanian, I feel that we shouldn't be the ones sort of thrown out there to have to be that option about carpooling. I have put up a voice before about these temporary drivers licenses that have been the charge been taken. I think it was like 2018, 2019 where that was taken away. Where people come to Cayman, they drive on our roads without getting a license transfer. I think up to 6 months or a year. So they're literally driving for free. And when we drive around, our license are expired, we get a $100 ticket. So I personally feel that the option about who drives on this road, it should boil down to it. If you're not a Caymanian, our country should be profiting from who drives on this road. You can't go and pay your $75 like I do to drive for 1 year. It's going to cost you $150, $300 as a foreigner to drive on this road. And they are willing to pay that. And then that money you can put towards a lot of these social issues that we're having now. We know the money, that's where you want to direct it to, because it's just a drop into the coffers and disappear. But I don't think that Caymanians should have to make that choice. I think the government should fix it, that the foreigners, we're not stopping nobody from driving. We can leave the option, but I'm quite sure it will slow down some of the traffic. But at least at the end of the day, let's benefit financially from these things. Because we've seen where you got rid of the not you, but the previous administration. They've got rid of the temporary driver's license fee. And now that tourism and all those things are picked up, we got people driving around here that can't drive at all. We got people coming in here to work, and they're literally driving for free. And we just don't want to bring back the $15 temporary driver's permit fee. You need to bring back, you want to drive in Cayman, you're going to pay for it, and you're going to profit on it. And the same thing with certain work permit categories. We're selling out our country right now, and we have real estate agents doing it. The majority of them are not Caymanian. Okay? We know that as a fact. And when you go and sign these agreements about them selling your property, and even at the last minute, when you try to pull out and say, just like I got to change your mind, this is sign this contract, and I got a sale, and you either going to sell it, it's going to cost. And you don't have the money to pay your rent of that contract, therefore you go and go through with it, and your property is gone. Right? Those kind of things need to stop. But the point about the real estate agent, there's a lot of jobs for Caymanians, and I don't see that industry going to our education system to try to train, because this doesn't take no sort of certification in my country, and this is just a bit about training, calling people into buying property at an expensive rate. So they should be training, and we should see more Caymanians in that field. So those type of permits should be increased. If you want to come here and sell a Cayman out or get a job to do it, well, the permit fee for that is going to be very expensive, or you find Caymanians. I think going on morning, I don't want to talk too much because there's a lot of topics, a lot of things that us Caymanians are concerned and perhaps a little upset about. But again, going back to about driving on these roads, foreign people have to pay more than Caymanians to drive on this road. It's just simple as that. And we need a profit, even if it means you have to put in a toll and then the Caymanians pay too. But at the day, let's not go that far. Let's not penalize Caymanians anymore. People are coming in here working, spending money overseas, building up their country. Just yesterday, I spoke to somebody, something simple as a juicy party. I said, how much do you pay for a juicy party in your country? Can a US dollar buy a juicy party? Oh, I can buy a juicy party in a great here. $3 can't even buy us one juicy party. So they know that this scam of inflation is what's driving this issue. But with that said, Mr. Premier, thank you for listening. Ms. Sandra, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
to
Thank you
talk,
so
and,
much.
I hope you all have a good day.
Appreciate it. Lots of comments coming in around
Thank
the
you for the
traffic
call.
situation. I think honestly, we need to have a show dedicated to just traffic with the premier to get all your comments and feedback. We do have a hard stop at 9:30 because I need to get to court on time, folks. But we've got another call on the line. Good morning, caller. Can we have your brief comment or question this morning? Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Today, Honorable Premier. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Rick Christian, the caller just now, has a valid point that I could have never said it better. I give you thumbs up. If I got 4, I would be the 4.
Okay.
Another thing, the traffic needs, trust me, that needs fine tuning. But even if you do, I'm not saying if you do wider roads, bigger roads, it's still going to bottleneck where you need to distribute some, and the volume of that is going to be ridiculous. The next point I want to get at is why is that before the 4 years before re-electing election, why is it that things are trying to be solved, as in apartment, rental? We have no control of our rent, board, mortgage. The legal fee for Caymanian is ridiculous. It's horrendous. If that can be looked into, you know, before even election, before I even go sit to be in a rally and say, okay, we're going to do this. We heard that 4 years ago. We heard that 8 years ago. We heard that before the previous. Why can't that be fixed before instead of promising? So I know whenever you're going to take over a battle from a relay, you have to start out whatever the issue was before. But when you're going to promise what's going to be done, and you will not be working and to help the people, work for the people, and people put you there to help and provide. Yes, some people will say, you know what happened with that now?
I'm having a little bit of an issue hearing you call. I just need you to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I give the premier heads up by cleaning house, but I think they probably need more. I'm not saying everybody is bad, but it's something to look at because promising is what people say are to afford on. People is not food. So, have a good day.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So another call on the line and quite a few comments coming in. So one person says, good morning. Please suggest the importing of cars be limited to nothing under 6 or 7 years. What do you mean nothing under 6 or 7 years? And also people who are here for that length of time?
They mean age of the car.
Oh, the age of the car, of the vehicle. Gotcha. Also, who is able to import? There should not be people here on permits. If they need a car, they can purchase locally only. And there are too many old cars being imported because they're cheap, cost-wise, and duties are not that high. Stop the importation of old vehicles completely. And maybe for the next 10 years, increase the duties for cars 7 years old. Will help the traffic problem a little bit. Someone else says, good morning. Was not Mr. Saunders CFO at HSBC? Can you please ask the Premier to implement the district advisory committees? Thank you. And we do have another caller who's also on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning, Mr. Premier. I have a quick question for you.
Good morning.
Sandy, question for you. How long did it take for you to get home that morning or that afternoon when that traffic was bottleneck from that incident happened in Savannah?
Yeah, it was painful. That was just last week.
So, right, that was last week. Now, what I want to find out from the Premier if he have considered about dropping the duties on the motorcycles. If that's have been considered. Second of all, because that would highly impact a lot of people. Like I'm a motorbike rider. I'd rather ride a bike, and I could guarantee you a lot of people prefer to ride a bike than sitting in traffic. Number one, the insurance is ridiculous. That's a whole different ballgame. Second of all, why is it taking so long? They've been working on the roundabout by on Linford, just off of Linford Pearson bypass going to Fairbanks. They've been working on our road for a better part of 7 months. You could build a whole new concourse in Miami quicker than they could do that. It's like you go there, you only see 2 people there, and then that's it. They go there, 2 or 3 people there in the morning. If you go there right now, at any given day, you have no more than maybe 5 people, and 1 person standing up, and the other 2 persons are sitting down, or the other 4 persons are sitting down. I mean, if you're going to work on a road, if you look at the Harcourt bypass, when they worked on that road, they started, they wouldn't stop. Night, noon, and day, they went straight through. If you look at the bridge, when they did it at Cayman Bay, they worked right through.
Now, you do know, caller, you do know that you're pointing out the efficiency of the DART organization and the people that they work with, right? I'm just saying.
I understand that. But at the end of the day, if you got 50 NRA people and you put 20 to work on one road going up by the Savannah roundabout, the bypass up there, and you're not concentrating all in one area. You're putting some to work one area, some to one, and it's not going to be efficient. You know what I'm saying? So if you got 30 people, and they're going to work on your house, Sandy, you're not going to have 5 people working on your house and the other 5 contractors working somewhere else. Even though that happens, you need to make sure your house is done. So every morning that you go right now, there's only 3 people there. And they're working on that road, and they've been working on that road for, like I said, over 7 months or longer. And I could guarantee you could go to Miami and you could build a whole concourse quicker than that. The thing of it is, the other thing is, Sandy, is that you have a lot of expats, and not disrespect to them, that own work permits that are literally, I've said this before, and I've seen it again last week, that are bringing in cars and selling them and making profit off it, and they're on work permit without a business and trade license and without any other thing. There is a group of them that just bringing the cars in. One person will bring in a group of cars this week. Another person in that same group will bring in, a next person will bring in another set of cars. And they're literally on work permit, and I know that. So and then when I came on, they tried to bring in cars. They need to get a business trade license. They got to get this. They got to get that, and everything else in between. So that needs to be looked at as well.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. All right, folks. It is 9:30 a.m. and for once in our lives as Caymanians, we are going to be on time. That's a joke, folks. I know we're on time all the time. Premier Panton, I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this morning. As you can see, we still have a good 500 plus people on the live stream watching you, and countless thousands more undoubtedly listening to you on the radio. The people love having you here, and they have a lot of questions, a lot of comments. I apologize that we couldn't get to all the comments this morning, but definitely, the Premier will be back. He's committed to twice a month with his busy schedule, which I think is really admirable. First time we've had a Premier do that, making himself available and open to you, the people, to hear your concerns, hear your comments, hear your feedback, take your questions. And so we'll see him in another couple of weeks. So Premier Panton, again, thank you very, very much this morning for just adding a bit of clarity to the current situation. And of course, I think everybody here is looking forward to simply moving past this.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. I appreciate it. Always appreciate the opportunity to be able to interact and exchange views and thoughts with the people of our incredible Cayman Islands. And I say that with every bit of intention. This is a fantastic, amazing, beautiful country, and we need to recognize that more often. That's why we have so many people who want to come here. And is it perfect for everyone? No. But this is why we need to pursue the strategies and bite the bullet on certain things, face certain difficult truths, face certain difficult facts, and address the problems. We need to unite this country. We need to be able to address the issues that impact our quality of life. Because while the country is wonderful, we know that there are certain challenges and they must be addressed. We can no longer afford to kick the can down the road. We can no longer afford to not do proper planning to address the problems that we have. And I am determined, and my colleagues are supporting and are all on board in respect to this. We are going to be starting to roll out more specific measures now to address problems around traffic. We have always been committed to housing. We've been working on the programs and the locations. I just came yesterday from visiting the NHTT site in Northside to see how that was going. I know that the Apple Blossom site in West Bay is moving forward with proposals around that to, in some cases, increase some density, but also provide those people with proper housing. There are a number of challenges, but we can face those challenges together. We can all collaborate. We can be courteous on the roads. We can show dignity and respect to each other, whether that's in the public or whether that's in our workplaces. And that is how we continue to build this country, continue to make this country the best little country that it is. And we continue to punch above our weight in financial services and reflect a very positive image for this country internationally. Thank you all very much. Thank you for calling in, sharing views. We're all human beings. Nobody's perfect, but no opinion is invalid either. So you deserve to be heard, and I'm here to do that. And thank you, Sandy, for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. And I want to just say one love to everybody, and God bless our wonderful Cayman Islands. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you very much, Premier Panton, folks. You guys heard it here. Now I will take a quick commercial break, and I've got a really, really phenomenal video. I told you guys that I had the opportunity week before last to attend the Economic Outlook. It was fantastic, in my opinion. Lots came out of it. And so I recorded a lot of the different presenters. I think I missed the very last presenter, but I've got lots of content for you guys, and I want to be able to share that content on this platform by way of education so that you guys are keeping up with what is happening in the world around you. These are very, very important topics. And Natasha says, caller is not lying about the importation of cars by work permit holders. People need to start taking pictures of the culprits when reporting. It's so unfortunate. And I think like some other things, we've now created a culture where everyone is used to doing that. And what you will find, even if a restriction is put in place in terms of the importation, then there's going to be Caymanians and people with Caymanian status who will look to take advantage of that importation and take advantage really of these poor people wanting to own and have a vehicle. And so they will continue the importation. It's just that it won't say that, foreign national's name on it. It's now going to say a person, a Caymanian or someone with Caymanian status, who's actually going to be doing it, and the end result will still be the same. So I think we're going to have to look very, very closely at addressing that specific issue. Mr. Amelia says, I take my hats off to you. You make time to come and CMR and talk to us, and we're able to ask you questions freely. And again, that's something that, let's be honest here, previous administrations would not do. And so, you have to give credit where credit is due. All right, folks. So quick commercial break, and then sit back at your second cup of coffee, tea, whatever you're drinking, and enjoy this very educational segment because it's all about technology. I think you guys are going to find it fascinating.
Get your taste buds ready because Taste of Cayman is back. Join us May 13th at Festival Green, Camana Bay. Eat, drink, and dance the night away. Taste of Cayman offers the very best of Cayman's food and drink scene with plenty of music to keep the party going. Get your festival tickets online today at tasteofcayman.org or call 623-6700. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Tourism Association and sponsored by AI Rentals, Camana Bay, DMS Broadcasting, and numerous valued partners.
Ocean Ridge Heights offers an amazing opportunity to own a piece of land in idyllic Cayman Brac, right on the bluff. starting from $80,000. Located in a quiet residential area with high elevation, these lots are ideal for a future home or investment property and are sure to go fast. Cayman Brac offers a laid-back lifestyle, amazing pristine diving, limestone caves, diverse flora, along with amazing wildlife. Inquire about the owner financing options so that you can secure your piece of paradise today. With only a few lots remaining, these are sure to go before you know it. Contact Crichton Properties today on 345-949-5250 or info@crichtonproperties.com.
Honey, you remember to bring your lunch, right?
Oh, come on. You know I wouldn't.
Seriously?
Popeyes?
Popeyes.
Popeyes to the rescue again.
Mommy, I prefer this to your chicken anyway.
Oh, no, you didn't.
K-Man doesn't just like that chicken. We love that chicken from Popeyes.
At this point, it's my pleasure to welcome our Premier Panton up to the stage for opening remarks. So please join me in welcoming Premier Panton.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say what a privilege it is to be here with you this morning. I had to come from another event, and some of my colleagues, I think, are still there, but they will be coming to join us very shortly. So apologies for their absence at this point, but they will be here very shortly. So let me join in extending a very, very warm Caymanian welcome to all of you here this morning to this, the 2023 Royal Fidelity Economic Outlook Conference. This year marks the 20th year of the conference, and certainly on behalf of all of my colleagues in government, we wish to extend our sincere congratulations to the organisers, Royal Fidelity, and in particular to Mr. Michael Anderson and Mr. Brett Hill for this historic milestone. Well done to them. Royal Fidelity has promised to give us a world of ideas packed into one inspiring day. That's a big promise, yet after 20 years, we know that is exactly what this conference delivers each year. We leave each session a little more knowledgeable, a little more curious, more energized, and definitely more inspired. As I said last year, this annual event is one of the best conferences on our local and regional calendars. A warm Caymanian welcome as well, specifically to our international guests who have traveled to be with us today. For those of you who are first-time visitors, we hope you will get out and enjoy our natural islands, our island's natural beauty, excellent culinary offerings. You can see that I am familiar with that. And the immense friendliness of our people. For our returning visitors, welcome back. And we look forward to reconnecting with you. And our hope is that this visit is even better than your last one. Now, it gives me great pleasure to be here today to provide you with a Cayman Islands update from the government's perspective. Today, the turnout here certainly is reflective of what we would expect, and sends a clear message that after COVID, our economy is back. The Cayman Islands is open for business, and our economy is absolutely growing again. We see it here in the size of the audience today, We can also see it in our own local numbers. Our economic growth as measured by GDP was 3.7% in 2022 and 4% in 2021. And the difficult year that was 2020, when the economy contracted by 5.1%. So no surprise for anybody there. The good thing was that it didn't contract as much as many others did. But this is not just about GDP recovery. It's about the creation of jobs, the restoration of confidence. Our economy has created more than 8,900 jobs relative to the pre-pandemic period of 2019. When compared to the low of 2020, our economy has added 14,700 jobs. The unemployment rate for Caymanians is at a record low of 3.6%. Overall, our unemployment rate is 2.1%. I think it hasn't been at that level in decades. Roughly half of those people who remain unemployed have been without a job for more than a year. And we are actively exploring avenues to provide training and retraining opportunities to get them back into meaningful employment. Our real GDP per capita in 2022 was estimated at 70,800, rounded up, higher than the United States and many other advanced economies. While our success is clear, it is important to remember, as former Prime Minister Tony Blair once said, real progress cannot be measured by money alone. We must ensure that economic growth contributes to our quality of life rather than degrading it. We can measure success with many metrics. And one of our objectives in this government was to use a balanced approach to measure success, to ensure our success is in fact making the lives of our citizens better, and to find ways to measure that quality of life that Tony Blair was talking about. With that goal in mind, we set out to start measuring our social progress. So another key statistic that we have recently employed and that speaks to our success is the UN Human Development Index. The HDI is a summary measure of achievements in 3 key dimensions of human development: a long and healthy life, the health index, access to knowledge, the education index, and a decent standard of living, the income index. The Cayman Islands is not a sovereign country, hence we're not included in any official rankings in this respect, but we have used the specific UN methodology to determine our Human Development Index. And for our calculation for 2021, the HDI value was 0.877, which falls within the range of 0.80 and 1 in the category of countries that are considered as having a very high Human Development Index. Comparatively, the only other country from the Caribbean region in that category was Trinidad and Tobago, with an index of 0.81. The HDI for Cayman has consistently in the calculations been between 0.86 and 0.88. So as we look forward toward the broader economy, there are a few key challenges that we face as we continue to grow. These challenges are sustainability, the sustainability and livability of our 3 islands for this and future generations. We have a number of what can be described as wicked problems. 2 of the most urgent relate to cost of living, which everybody I'm sure is familiar with in general around the world, but it's particularly acute in small island states which have the high cost of transport. And also the issue of traffic, another problem some people might call a problem of success. So our PAC government is committed to tackling these problems head on. And while there are no silver bullets or magic wands that solve these challenges head on, we must do what we can to provide cost of living relief in the short term and take steps to contain and ideally reduce costs in the medium to long term. Similarly, when it comes to traffic, we must make it easier to get around our country so that people are not being stuck for hours in gridlocked traffic. When it comes to cost of living, in our first 15 months in office, we implemented an unprecedented number of initiatives to protect income and lower costs for our citizens. Initiatives which I have outlined in previous presentations multiple times over the past year in particular. And just by way of highlights, some of those include providing free lunches to all children in public primary and secondary schools or high schools, providing temporary assistance with electricity costs during the second half of 2022, as fuel costs at that point were unusually high. And of course, it started during the peak summer months and was extended through to December as well. We lowered the duty on a range of goods and items. For example, goods that were necessary for women, children, and families. We also provided income assistance with income stipends and health insurance premiums while the economy was transitioning to full recovery. In addition to that, there was support to small businesses that were in difficulty transitioning from the COVID environment, which there was, as I said earlier, a significant decline in economic activity for obvious reasons. Specifically, we have also reduced duty on energy efficiency products because we know that in order to ensure that our people have a lower cost of living, the cost of energy is one of the significant things. It's all the fuel we use to generate this is all imported, obviously. So as I said, these are simply a few of the more than 24 initiatives that we implemented to assist our people. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the global supply chain crisis, the war in Ukraine, and the imprudent monetary policies in some of our larger friends and neighbors all contributed to this situation with this global inflationary crisis. And of course, that has resulted in dramatic increases in prices here in the Cayman Islands. So these factors are largely out of our control or influence. But while it's difficult to address, it's hard to ensure that these costs are not translated to our people. Doesn't mean that just because it's hard, you don't try to do it. So we're a people-driven government. We're here to ensure that our people can continue to afford to live and raise their families with dignity. And that's something that we are absolutely steadfastly committed to protecting. The government is considering a raft of new measures to address the cost of living crisis. And we're currently evaluating policy options, including raising the minimum wage, considering cost of living adjustments for salaries, incentivizing adults already in the workforce to get technical and vocational training to upskill or retrain themselves, investments which we think will help to qualify them for higher paying jobs with good benefits. And we're diligently working to find sustainable and responsible ways to lower the cost of electricity, food, housing, and healthcare. Reducing energy costs for businesses and households is critical to the long-term sustainability of our islands. So increasing support for renewable energy is not only good for the environment, but it will reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. And it will provide us with energy security, and it will allow us to reduce energy costs across the society over the long term. In other words, we'll be insulated from the volatility that has existed in energy costs. The other critical intervention is the Traffic and Transportation Initiative. Here we need short-term interventions and policy changes for, as well as those for the medium and long term. Obviously, one long-term fix is to take a close look at development planning and our zoning laws. We need to create more mixed-use communities that are more walkable and denser than the way we currently develop. Dense, walkable communities reduce the need for people to get in cars for simple errands or to commute to work or to school. Denser mixed-use communities enable public transportation to thrive, cycling to thrive, and they also promote walking, which promotes health and wellness. Dense, walkable communities are good for community health, good for the environment, and good for our economy. Density does not mean necessarily skyscrapers. Greater density can be achieved through allowing auxiliary dwelling units on a traditional lot, allowing smaller lot sizes, or adding 2 or 3 stories to residential dwellings. We must also look to short-term interventions and interim solutions to alleviate the current pain being felt by thousands of people who live particularly in our eastern districts. We know that even if the construction of the east-west arterial commenced today, that solution will take at least a year to offer relief to people coming from the eastern districts. We're determined to get that important element of road infrastructure in place as quickly as reasonably possible, ensuring that we comply with the process and requirements around environmental impact assessment. But we know that we've got to improve the quality of life for some of our residents who are suffering each and every day. We need to assist them now, not a year from now. Some of these proposals will include incentivizing carpooling, offering subsidized bus service from the outer districts on weekdays, and discouraging the typical pattern of a single occupant in hundreds of cars, or thousands of cars really, making their way into Georgetown, the capital, every day. We will also take a tougher stand on restricting the number of the types of cars that can be imported. In the medium term, we need to create and resource an effective public transport system that reduces the number of cars on the road, making public transportation more regular, more comfortable, and more available. And that will obviously improve its usage. Due to our small size and rapid growth, we will always have challenges with mobility and affordability. It's expensive to transport goods and services to our islands, as noted earlier. And because we only have so much land, we cannot fill it up with American-style superhighways. But through our policies and our focus on improving the lives of our people, we can make sure and that we make steady progress towards improving our transport systems, making our country more affordable, and improving the quality of life for our citizens. Allow me to speak just for a few moments on the matter of work permits. This is a difficult conversation. It always has been, and it probably always will be. The reason it is difficult is because there is a balance that has to be struck. On the one hand, we know that growing our population is one way of growing our economy. It creates jobs, it creates demand, and customers for local businesses, and revenue for government coffers. But fundamentally, it creates economic opportunity for Caymanians as well. On the other hand, it also has the potential to price Caymanians out of their own country because of demand for property, and make it more difficult for them to afford to live here. And it has had the effect of fundamentally changing our country culturally. I've heard many, many stories of Caymanians who feel they've been denied opportunities because an employer would rather bring in a guest worker. That is obviously unfair to our qualified workforce if it is happening. Now, how do we balance this? Going too far in one direction will stifle economic activity, going too far in the other direction, and we lose our country. You can see the difficulties that our people face and we as representatives face when we're trying to address these issues. So our balance is about preserving the rights of Caymanians in our own country, while simultaneously ensuring that businesses have the labor they need to grow. For that reason, we need to be diligent and exercise due care in the processing of work permits. We also need to pursue ways to achieve growth through increased productivity and through economic activities which rely less on large amounts of human capital. You've heard us say that we're looking to innovate, to grow our economy through tech and healthcare, and to be deliberate about diversification. We'll be sharing more about that in the coming months. Turning now to government's finances. I am pleased to report that the fiscal performance of this government is very strong. We'll be reporting a substantial government surplus thanks to our prudent management in the post-COVID world. Specifically, we will deliver a budget surplus which is in excess of 40 million over, it's in excess of 40 million, which is more than double what the projected surplus was going to be based on our own budgets. And this is in spite of having significantly increased expenditures. So we regard it as admirable performance, given what we have spent to fund initiatives that I've talked about earlier. It is important to underscore this point. This surplus that we have was not realized through austerity measures. It was not realized off the backs of our people. So nobody was deprived of needed assistance in order to achieve this level of fiscal prudence and positive result. Given the uncertainty of the current geopolitical environment and any unforeseen consequences for the Cayman Islands, our government is seeking to maintain a surplus, and we'll do this by being responsible. Moreover, we're holding in reserve a loan of 330 million that was obtained at a very favorable rate, and this gives us a very healthy cash balance along with our existing reserves. That puts us somewhere in excess of $500 million in reserves. Of course, we decided to take the loan, draw down on the loan, while it wasn't actually necessary. The rates were too favorable to pass up, and it may be used for investments over the coming year or two. But those rates were just, obviously we're not going to get low rates for some time to come now. So, ladies and gentlemen, although I'm here today speaking at an Economic Outlook conference, as a government, our mandate is not just about dollars and cents, as I've alluded earlier. Our mandate includes a social agenda, building a fairer, safer, more equitable, and more sustainable society. So to that end, I'm pleased that we are advancing the sexual harassment bill that was published as a white paper for consultation that protects both genders in the workplace and in our society. We've all heard the stories of mistreatment and harassment, and the statistics show that most often it is women who are being mistreated. Women who are too afraid to come forward. They're afraid of victimization and losing their jobs. That isn't right. We must build a more empowering and equitable society where women feel safe to come forward. In fact, where they don't have to have a story at all, because they haven't experienced that. If you ask almost every woman in society, they can tell you stories which support this. And too many of the stories are of emotional and physical abuse as well. That isn't right, and that's why I am proud to be championing this important legislation which is up for public consultation, and we hope to have passed and implemented later this year. I'm here to tell all of the Cayman Islands, in the context of these troubling stories, that it doesn't matter how wealthy you are or how powerful you are, you do not have the right to harass, belittle, or assault women in our society. I invite all of you to look at the white paper and provide your feedback on this really important proposed legislation. So I'm equally proud to report that in less than 18 months in office, our government took a definitive stance on, or for, good governance. We implemented a ministerial code of conduct, a cabinet manual, and a parliamentary code of conduct, all of which had been outstanding and never done in the past. These were elements of good governance that were identified by various bodies in various reports over the years, and yet were left languishing due to lack of political will for more than a decade. Our government made history and improved transparency and accountability in the affairs of the elected government. I'll also add that we were also the first government that published a summary of cabinet decisions being made on a weekly basis. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are making meaningful progress to improve the sustainability of our economy, our society, and our environment. At the end of April, we will outline our strategic policy statement for the 2024 through to 2026 budget or timeline. And of course, later in the year, we'll be working through the budget to be implemented for 2024 and 2025. We'll also be providing a midterm report on our progress thus far. So switching, ladies and gentlemen, to the theme of today's conference, evolving risks and the way forward. Much of what I've talked about today has focused on local matters of concern, and that is the environment that we as a government can most well impact. But the reality is, we are but a mouse in a lion's, and a world, I should say, dominated by lions, tigers, whales, and elephants. I always slip and said in a lion's mouth. In the global sense, the evolving risks are innumerable, and we must do all we can to protect ourselves while offering a safe and competent jurisdiction where people feel comfortable to invest their resources in this changing and often unpredictable world. Climate change for us is obviously one of those significant, long-standing threats. We see it most in the rising of sea levels, but also the intensity of storms that impact our shores. We are a small, low-lying, in case anybody didn't notice, country, which means that we will bear the brunt of climate change if it is unabated. It is therefore now essential that we take decisive action to adapt to any inevitable changes, to adverse impacts of climate change, many of which are already being experienced across our natural and human systems, while also doing all we can to mitigate our contribution, however small, to the problem. I'm proud to say that our government completed a climate risk assessment and issued a report on the process and findings of the climate change risk assessment. Subsequently, we have nearly completed the update to our climate change risk policy, another document which was languishing for the better part of a decade, which will deliver robust strategies for responding to the current and anticipated adverse risks of global climate change on the economy, society, and the natural environment of our country over the next decade and beyond. The report drew together current knowledge of how climate change is already impacting the economy and the country, or is expected to in the future,
From this, a long list of risks and opportunities was agreed and scored in terms of proximity, magnitude, and confidence. I mean confidence that it will happen, at a workshop in May of last year. 50 risks were evaluated, of which 18 are considered severe. Of those 18 severe climate change risks for the Cayman Islands, 9 were risks to society, infrastructure, buildings, and 9 comprised threats to biodiversity and natural habitats. The full report is available online if you're interested in reading it. Now, there are several solutions needed to address these risks. First, we need to ensure our building standards are respected and enforced so that we minimize damage and loss of life in increasingly fierce storms. Secondly, while our overall levels of emissions are small, our per capita amount of emissions is significantly high, and in fact higher than many developed countries. So obviously we have a moral obligation, at the very least, to do something about that. We need to set an example for the rest of the world by making our islands as clean and green as possible. This is not only the right thing to do for the environment, but it is also the right thing to do for our economy and for the quality of life of our people. Harnessing renewable energy opportunities and democratizing access to renewable energy will also protect our economy against future shocks in oil prices. Shocks, again, that are out of our control. May mean some short-term pain in terms of the transition, but it is to try to achieve the long-term stability and benefit, which will be worth the investment. Now, we've made progress. We are in the advanced stages of a comprehensive review of our national energy policy. We've consulted experts both locally and abroad. We completed public consultation, and now we're in the final stages of finalizing the draft policy, the new draft policy, updated draft policy for public consultation, and then eventually adoption by Cabinet, which should be weeks away. We've also made some progress in biodiversity conservation. Specifically, we've continued protection of our beautiful and unique native species and habitats through the designation of additional protected areas. We've also added another tool to help measure the impact of our conservation efforts. Initially aided by consultants funded by the UK government, we're now internally producing natural capital accounts alongside our traditional national financial accounts in order to better understand the value and the range of benefits provided by our natural assets and to track their condition and extent over time. Clearly, that is certainly very important, not just to our quality of life, but a very important industry, the tourism industry in particular. And I see my colleague, the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Kenneth Bryan. Welcome. Thank you for making it. I know you were running away from another obligation. So, we are also in the process of taking a critical and comprehensive look at the policies and legislation which guide our physical development and planning, with the aim of ensuring that future changes and amendments are embedded within a sustainability framework that ensures equal consideration of people, planet, and profit in all of our national decision making. Beyond climate change, running a well-regulated financial ecosystem is
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Here's a summary of some of Cayman's latest headlines. Former Deputy Premier Chris Saunders has again come with serious allegations against the government after last week claiming racism by the governor. This time, the former Minister of Finance and Economic Development and Minister for Employment and Border Control says there were some material differences between him and Premier Wayne Panton on the Ren-Gen project. Just over 200 applicants benefited from the Global Citizen Concierge Program, which allowed foreigners who earn outside the Cayman Islands to live and work remotely here with their families. The program, which ended late last year, started in 2020 but was extended to October 2022 after its first year. Participants were allowed to stay in the Cayman Islands for 2 years. Vendors on 7 Mile Public Beach were issued cease and desist orders during a raid by officers last week and warned they could be arrested and their property confiscated and destroyed if they failed to comply. Alcohol being sold illegally was seized when the police, along with the Department of Commerce and Investment, Work and Customs and Border Control, raided the beach. After residents were stopped from repairing the Coilers Dock in East End earlier this month, the Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure has announced that members of the Public Works Department are currently undertaking repairs, with the work scheduled to be completed next month. Earlier this month, John McLean Jr. expressed on social media that a government department shut down a project he initiated to repair the dock. Now for your CMR weather update. It's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:23. Mostly sunny skies today, when the temperature is at 84 degrees Fahrenheit and the humidity at 67% like the forecast calls for. It will feel like it's in the high 80s. Winds east-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and the sun sets at 6:38. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the mid-70s. Looking forward, similar weather conditions are expected. If you would like to know more on any of these stories, visit CaymanMallRoad.com or follow Cayman Mall Road on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.